Hey there, it's John from Tiny, and in this video, we're going to take a look at the TinyMCE CRM starter config built specifically for anyone who wants to add rich text editing to their CRM. We put together all of the layout and config options that you need to tailor TinyMCE for your CRM, whether you're building a new CRM or upgrading your existing CRM. The starter config is great if you want to do full-blown rich text editing within your CRM, or just update some of the fields on your CRM to have rich text editing capabilities. Before we dive into the specifics, I'll just highlight that you can find all of our starter configs by going to tiny.cloud, clicking on Solutions, and choosing from one of the many pre-made starter configs that we've made for each of these use cases. To find the CRM one, just click on Customer Relationship Management. Okay, so let's take a look at it. You've probably seen in CRMs the ability to message people, whether they be customers or prospects. That's what we've modeled this starter config off of. Now, if you just want to add rich text editing to a simple text field, you can always take this starter config and pare it down to what you want to do. We know that many CRMs are very cluttered with lots of different data fields, different input types, and different panes into different views about a particular record. So that's why we pared down the CRM starter config to give you that minimalistic kind of look. Okay, let's take a look at how we did that. So first of all, you'll see that the toolbar is on the bottom. Usually it's on the top with TinyMCE, but we want your users to be able to get right into the editing experience and then see the other text controls that they need at the bottom. This is very common in many CRMs. You'll also notice that maybe you're familiar with TinyMCE. There's usually a menu bar and a status bar at the bottom. We've removed both of those as well to keep it nice and minimal within your CRM. We've also included a very minimal toolbar at the bottom. So you'll see all of the very basic functionalities within these buttons like undo, redo, spell check, text formatting, add link, emoji, images, templates, and code editor, which seems very basic at first. But if your users want to do advanced formatting on the text, they can click this T button, which expands into some more advanced controls that your users can then use, keeping the editor nice and minimal. One other thing we added to the starter config is auto resize. What that lets the editor do is grow and shrink as the contents grow and shrink. This keeps the editor nice and minimal within your CRM, so it doesn't take up too much space and gives space to the other critical components within the CRM. Now, something else that's probably on your mind as a CRM administrator or someone building a CRM is keeping your database under control. You don't want to introduce additional bloat or extra formatting or extra HTML into the database if you don't have to, because that can lead to indexing issues and make the database grow larger than it really has to be. And that's why we added Power Paste to the starter config. Power Paste lets your users copy content from other apps like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, or Excel, and copying over the formatting without breaking any of the underlying HTML code. If you're a developer, you know all of the extra code that gets copied over when you copy from these programs. Power Paste strips it out so that you're only storing the code needed to format the text. Okay, let's take a look at it. I've got a sample Word document with some pretty advanced formatting here that I'm just going to copy and paste into the CRM editor. So I'll just paste it in there. It's going to ask me, do I want to preserve the formatting or keep it? Just for demonstrating purposes, I'm going to keep it, but you can also set defaults to remove it or give the user the option. So let's take a look. And here it is. It looks pretty much exactly like it was in Word. So if your users are copying more rich text into the CRM, there's always that option. And not only does it copy it over properly, but like I said before, it keeps the HTML nice and clean. You don't see any unnecessary span tags that Word would normally put in there. So that'll keep your database size nice and small and keep the HTML easy to understand. And while we're at it, the feature that I just showed you is called Advanced Code Editor. That can let some of your more power users, if they are composing more advanced message or content inside the editor, but you can also remove it. Like I mentioned before, you want to have strict controls over what your users can do with that text. So in this case, they're sending a fairly plain text email to customers or prospects. So we want to make sure that we're not giving them too many crazy options so that that looks good and renders properly in the inbox that they're sending it to. So let's take a look at this menu I showed before. One thing you might notice is we have the fonts in pixels, which is what you want to be doing for emails. You can also specify font sizes in different units as well. We've also got some basic styles here, as well as a font selector and other basic formatting. Now, one thing that's not in the starter config that you might be interested in a CRM application is setting a max length on the editor contents. That might be useful for a smaller field. For example, a description that you don't want to go over a character limit. I'll include a link to a tutorial on how to do that in the description of the video. Okay, now the last big thing that you want to be thinking about when you're building a CRM and thinking about rich text editing is personalization. So we're talking about templates, mail merge, and other things. So let's take a look at templates. What we've got here is a set of predefined templates that you can specify in your config that, for example, salespeople can use to reach out to their customers without having to build their own emails. They even include the merge tags that I was talking about that are non-editable tags that you can insert into the email to personalize it as well. And then your CRM would take these merge tags and replace them with record details. Of course, merge tags can be used in other applications within a CRM as well. For example, customized landing pages or quotes, whatever kind of rich content you're building for people on the outside, these merge tags are amazing and a huge time saver. Okay, so that's a quick walkthrough of the CRM starter config. As I mentioned, you can take this and customize it for whatever you want to do within your CRM, even if it's not email or messaging. The same principles still apply. Minimalist layout, enforcing strict formatting, and personalization. Let's take a quick look at the code behind the starter config. When you get the starter config, you can get it in two versions, one without code tips and one with code tips. The code tips are really helpful if you're learning how to use TinyMCE and you want to understand what each configuration option does. So let's take a look at that version. So I've got the HTML and the JavaScript on the left here and the editor on the right. So first off, we include TinyMCE, and then we define the tokens that we want to use as merge tags. We specify what HTML selector to apply TinyMCE to, in this case, an element with the ID of editor. And here's where we hide the status bar and the menu bar to give it that minimalistic look. We include our plugins, one that allows our users to add lists, add links, add emojis, images, edit those images, the advanced code editor you saw before, a link checker that'll highlight any broken links before the message is sent or before the content's saved, the template plugin to insert that predefined content, power paste, spell checker, and auto resize. Here's where we configure auto resize. We set a min height and a max height and a bottom margin to give it a bit of spacing at the bottom. Then we specify the toolbar and include a format group, which is like a toolbar within a toolbar right here. We put the toolbar on the bottom of the editor. We set the font sizes to be in pixels and at the sizes that we specified. We specify our custom formats, which are what you see right here. And because in this case, we're talking about sending an email, we use something called force root block to make sure that the styles that we want to apply to our email are applied inline within the editor, because that's what email requires. Set our spell checker options. And then we set a non-editable regular expression, which is what highlights anything within these curly braces as a merge tag and makes it non-editable, so we can't edit it. And in this case, for the button to add the merge tags, we've specified a custom SVG icon, which is defined right here. So this section here defines that button and what it should look like and how it should behave. And we specify the names, descriptions, and content for each of those templates that we included. We set some basic styles for the editor to define how the content looks within it. And then here's just some basic styles for the page and the text area and the default content that we've included. So that's about it. If you copy that starter config into your app or into a blank page, you can take it, customize it, use it for what you need, and get started with TinyMCE within your CRM right away. In order to grab it, head over to tiny.cloud, click on Solutions, and go to CRM. And of course, if you haven't yet, be sure to sign up for a 14-day free trial of TinyMCE, where you can get access to all the premium plugins used in the starter config. Hopefully this gives you enough of a starting off point to get started with rich text editing within your CRM. We have tons more resources, so check out our YouTube channel or head over to our blog for more CRM rich text editing tips. Good luck!